Hello, today we are going to continue dividing decimals, but we are going to learn how to divide by a decimal number. Up until now we've just divided decimal numbers by a whole number. Today we're going to learn how to divide by a decimal. Before we start dividing by decimals, we have to learn about and agree upon one cool trick that exists when we divide whole numbers. So 6 divided by 3, hopefully you know, is equal to 2. But these problems that follow, I've changed in a similar way, that I've changed 6 into 60 and 3 into 30. What I've done here is I have multiplied the 6 times 10, and I've multiplied the 3 also times 10. Now, here is the cool thing. If I do 6 divided by 3, the answer is 2. But if I do 60 divided by 30, the answer is still 2. If I multiply both the dividend and the divisor by the same number, the quotient, the answer to our division problem, will stay the same. Does it happen if I do it again, multiplying by another 10 and multiplying by another 10? As long as I multiply the dividend and the divisor by the same factor, it should work out. Shall we check? Clear 600 divided by 300, and sure enough, the answer to all these problems is 2. So, that's an important rule moving forward as we start to divide by decimal numbers. Because, for example, if we're given the problem 0.72 divided by 0.08, or 72 hundredths divided by 8 hundredths, we might think, oh no, I don't know how to divide by a decimal number yet. However, if we can change this to being a whole number, then we do know how to solve this. So, let's just try multiplying each of these numbers by 100. 72 times 100 and 72 hundredths times 100 and 0.8, 8 hundredths times 100. You might remember that all you have to do when you're multiplying by a multiple of 10 is move the decimal over a couple places. And sure enough, this leaves us with the problem 72 divided by 8, which is a math fact you learned when you were in 3rd grade. You might have to scratch your head a little bit because it's one of the harder ones, but that is just equal to 9. So since this answer is 9, the quotient to this problem is also 9, and that is a much easier problem to solve. Moving on to another problem, 3.72 divided by 1.2, or 3 and 72 hundredths divided by 1 and 2/10. First thing to realize now is that rules like you have to divide the bigger number divided by the smaller number, those don't really apply anymore. You really have to think about where each number is in the problem. Here we've got 3.72 divided by 1.2. That means that when I write this out, the 1.2 is going to be, that's my divisor, that's on the outside of the house, and 3.72 is on the inside. All right, so I'm going to follow the steps before. I don't want to divide by a decimal number. I want to change this to be a whole number. So I'm going to think that I'm multiplying this times 10 to give me changes from 1.2 to be 12. But I also have to multiply this times 10. So that's going to be, instead of being 3, it's going to be 37.2. Now when I do this in the long division algorithm, it looks a lot easier. This is actually more confusing, and in this case, this part is less confusing in my mind, which is that I'm going to move this decimal place to here and move this one. Since I moved this over one place, I'm going to move this over one place and put it here. Now I'm doing 12 into 37 instead of 1 into 3. And we know that the answer will be the same since I've multiplied both my dividend and my divisor by the same number. Now I know this is where my new decimal point is, and like we learned last time, the decimal in the quotient will go right above where it is in the house. And this is why place value continues to be super, super important when I'm solving these problems. Now I just get to do my division. 12 doesn't go into 3, but 12 does go into 37. 12, 24, 37. 3 times divide, then I multiply 12 times 3, that was 36. Then I subtract that, 37 minus 36 leaves me with 1. Then I bring down the 2. Now you'll note while I'm doing this, I'm just ignoring that that decimal point is there altogether, but I know where it goes in my answer. 12 goes into 12 one time, beautiful. That is a clean end to this problem. I've got nothing left. I'm not going to write remainder 0 here because we're going to learn that when we have a decimal, we can't put both a decimal point and a remainder in a number. If there is a remainder, you'll learn next time what we have to do with that. So our answer to this problem is 3 and 1/10, 3.1. And I can check that by using multiplication. 3 times 1, I could either multiply the whole thing out or I can just estimate in my mind. 3 times 1 is equal to 3, so something that's a little bigger than 3 times something that's a little bigger than 1 should be a little bigger than 3, 3.72. That seems to make sense. That checks out. Great. Next, I want you to try to solve a problem on your own. So just like last time, I want you to go get some paper now and a pencil to do a problem on your own. Great. Now you're all ready to do the work. Here is the problem we are doing. 1.96 divided by 0.14. First question is, how many places do we have to move the decimal over? Fantastic. In the divisor, we have to move it over 2 places to make this a whole number. So in the dividend, we also have to move this over 2 places. And I'm going to move it in the problem and also in the quotient. All right, go ahead and take a minute to solve this problem out. And let me know what you find. Great, I got that the answer is 14. And that the answer is actually 14, whole number 14, because the decimal point is here. So it's not 1.4 or anything like that. I want to double check that that's right. So I'm going to use multiplication to check my answer. What multiplication problem am I going to do to check whether I got this right? Cool. So I have to do 14 times 0.14 and see if it answers equals 1.96. So go ahead for 16. 4 is 5. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. 6, 9, 1. Then I check I have 2 places in the problem, so I need 2 in my answer, and sure enough, that checks out. Great work. See you next time.